Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the opening plenary session of the 18th General UBC Conference. So we've been through the first half of the conference. Now it's time for the second one. And of course, a lot of exciting and interesting meetings ahead of us. My name is Mateusz Marecki and I represent the city of Słupsk, so the host city of this conference. And before we get into the gist of things, and before I introduce our distinguished speakers for today, would like to show you something that might put you in a good mood. So you might have had the opportunity yesterday to visit the Pali complex, which is just nearby. It's a 15-minute walk from here. It's a replica of a Bali village. And now we have something related to it. It's going to be a musical surprise for you. So we are going to, to listen and to watch a show given by some of the staff, some of the Dolina Charlotty staff. They are from Asia, and they are going to put on a show just in front of your eyes. So if you just turn around, you will see there is a stage, and now we are going to see this show. So enjoy.
Tidak berjalan
By the way, if you haven't seen the Bali village, we have good news for you because there will be an opportunity for all those of you who haven't visited yet. The Bali village will be open to all visitors from 5 p.m. to 7:30. So I must say that it's really a spectacular view, especially after dark, because the whole place is illuminated, so it really looks great. So I wholeheartedly just encourage you to visit this Bali complex later after the sessions. But now it's time to get back into the gist of things, as I said, right? And now we are going to listen to a few distinguished speakers in the opening plenary session. So we are going to listen to the remarks on the theme of the conference. And just let me remind you that the theme of the conference is reinforcing the role of UBC member cities in shaping EU policies, as well as in participating in funds that are EU-funded projects. So that's the main theme of the conference, and this plenary session actually sets the tone for the second plenary session today, which will specifically focus on launching a joint policy voice in the upcoming multi-annual financial framework for the EU. So let me now introduce some of the speakers for today. So first of all, I would like to welcome onto the stage Mr. Mantas Jurgutis, the president of the UBC.
I feel saint now. Okay. So, distinguished city leaders, partners, my dear presidium team, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 18th General Conference here in hostful SŁUPSK and UBC partner Dolina Charlotty. I'm truly honored to stand before you today as President of the Union of the Baltic Cities. Before we begin, let me share a personal story with you. In 2019, in Kaunas, Lithuania, I was first time elected as UBC president, and our former president, Per Atkinson, handed to me something very special. Not a document, not a plane, not a suit, but a tie. And it was very symbolic tie. You will need it, he said. The tie wasn't just a gesture to me, it was a symbol and a message. A message that leadership in our Union of the Baltic Cities is personal, rare, political, and always collective realization of values. It was a message that later on, acting all together with all of you, and especially my leadership presidium team, we have proved UBC is more than just an international organization. It is a partnership for already more than 30 years of experience. I am sure that they, Per, didn't know what is about to come in the world. But he, I am sure, knew that UBC will go forward whatever happens. Today, we gather here not only as colleagues, but more as partners in very challenging times of the world history. Europe is facing a new wave of uncertainty, from the war in Ukraine to climate breakdown, from social divides to the shrinking financial space. But ladies and gentlemen, as Aristotle once said, the city is partnership in living well. And here, in Union of the Baltic Cities, and this General Conference, we surely demonstrate this in action and in reality. Even though European Union is created and led by the member states, it's the cities where the people actually live, dream, and build their futures. It is the cities where all final things happen. I am sure that there is no question to all of us that only strong cities, strong UBC, is a guarantee for European Union to be understood and supported of our people, our communities. This is precisely why the UBC exists, to amplify city voices, scale good ideas, and shape the future of our region, One Europe. From Turku to Gdansk, from Riga to Kristiansand, from Bergen to Hamburg, more than 70 cities, we bring together people who believe that cities are not just implementers of policies, but also the co-authors of concrete solutions which are so much needed for national governments and management of the European Union. We are here this week to listen to each other, to speak up and to lead. The new EU multi-annual financial framework is much more than a budget. It's a political roadmap. And our cities are ready to walk that road together as equals, as partners for living safe and well. I am very satisfied that here in this General Conference this week we will present our common UBC policy position on the MFF 28-2034. I am sure it will bring us to a stronger action plan with Eurocities, Energy Cities, EU Commission and other stakeholders. Our main directions mentioned in that document are calling for direct access to EU funds for cities, less bureaucracy, stronger partnerships between EU institutions and city networks, support for Ukrainian cities on the EU path, recognition of the Baltic region as driver of innovation and cooperation. So UBC cities in solidarity with Eurocities say it clearly. Cities need to be at the table, not on the menu. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our host city, SŁUPSK, and Mayor Kristina Danilecka-Voyevodska for their commitments and gracious hospitality. Yes. My thanking words also go to our UBC Secretariat, and in particular to those member cities who contribute to lead by example. I am also very thankful to my Presidium team. Elena is present? Yes, Elena, Piotr, and Molin, who is not today with us, the best international crew I have ever worked with. Big applauses for the team. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on we start this moment of responsibility and equality, a moment of opportunities realization. And so another roadmap as one region with one voice and with one remarkable network of cities. Let us roll up our sleeves, learn from one another, and turn this gathering into concrete progress we all want in our union, in European Union. And after all, this is the essence of UBC. Working together, learning together, and moving forward together. Let's approach these days in SŁUPSK in the same spirit and enjoy this time as one big and ambitious UBC family. Thank you very much and enjoy the union of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So cities should be at the table, not on the menu. I think it's a very important phrase to repeat. And of course, thank you for reminding us about the importance of solidarity and acting in unison in times of uncertainty. And before I introduce our next speaker, let me just remind you kindly that we have a limited time for this opening session. So could you just stick to the 5-minute limit on each speech? Because after this session, we are going to open this session up for discussion, of course. So let me now give the floor to our next distinguished speaker, which is the mayor of Słupsk, Ms. Krystyna Danilecka-Wojewódzka. I'm going to give translation.
Szanowni Państwo, Pani europosłanka, Panie i Panowie prezydenci, burmistrzowie, mi jest łatwiej wymienić nazwisko prezydenta UBC niż jemu moje z jednego powodu.
So, ladies and gentlemen, all distinguished guests, it's easier for me to recall the name of the UBC president for one reason.
Otóż przez 20 kilka lat wybitnym zawodnikiem i trenerem ekstraligowej drużyny koszykarskiej w Słupsku
So for the last 20 years, we've had a very famous basketball player in our city, Słupsk.
jest Mantas Cesnauskis z Litwy. I to imię
And
Mantas,
his name is Mantas Cesnauskis from Lithuania.
kiedy poznałam dzisiaj Mantasa Jurgitisa, rzuciłam mu się na szyję, bo Mantas to jest zawsze przyjaciel.
So when I approached and I first met for the first time Mr. Mantas Jurgutis, so we just hugged.
I ciąg dalszy jest bardzo piękny, ponieważ ten Mantas jako młody chłopak przyjechał, grał w czarnych, poznał dziewczynę przepiękną zresztą, bo takie są w Słupsku głównie.
So when Mantas from Słupsk came first to our city, he was a very young man and he fell in love with a girl.
Ma 2 z nią dzieci.
Now they have 2 children together.
Jest Słupszczaninem.
Now he's a Słupsk resident, of course.
Otrzymał ostatnio medal honorowy za zasługi dla miasta Słupska.
And he also got a special reward for
Co tylko
being a
świadczy
citizen.
o tym, że pomiędzy Litwą a Polską, Finlandią, Szwecją nie ma żadnych odległości i żadnych przeszkód, żebyśmy byli bardzo blisko siebie.
Which only shows that there are actually no borders between our countries.
Ja oczywiście się bardzo cieszę, niezmiernie się cieszę, że możemy być współgospodarzami tego niezwykłego wydarzenia, ponieważ najważniejsze w życiu jest budowanie dobrych relacji między ludźmi i pomiędzy krajami.
So of course we are really excited to be co-hosting this conference because we believe in the meaning and the importance of partnerships and friendships.
A to czyni UBC, a my przestrzenią, która nas cudownie łączy, prawie jak wokół stołu, jest Morze Bałtyckie.
And the UBC, of course, is a place, is an organization that actually brings us all together around the concept of the Baltic Sea.
Ten stół przywołałam nie bez powodu, bo uważam, że najważniejsze rzeczy w domu rodzinnym, od posiłku począwszy, przez ważne rozmowy, poprzez wielkie polityczne rozmowy toczą się przy stole.
So the platform or the table that I'm referring to is very important, of course, because we all know that the table is at the center of every family's life.
I dla mnie właśnie Morze Bałtyckie jest tym stołem, który jednoczy nas, kraje wokół Morza Bałtyckiego, które mają jeden cel: współdziałać, współpracować, tak naprawdę dla dobra i dla harmonii funkcjonowania świata.
And of course, the Baltic Sea and this union is a platform that brings us all together because we all want to, we all believe in cooperation and collaboration.
Ten świat mój to jest miasto Słupsk, które w tym roku ma 760-lecie nadania praw miejskich. Jest miastem hanzeatyckim, zawsze bardzo pięknym i wielokulturowym.
And Słupsk, of course, you know, this year is a very important year for us because we have a triple jubilee. It's been 760 years since the foundation of our city. And another thing to mention is that city is also a Hansa city.
Bo to było miasto polskie, miasto niemieckie, ale także miasto żydowskie, ukraińskie, miasto, które przygarniało w różnych etapach jego rozwoju bardzo różnych ludzi, którzy ze sobą umieli współistnieć.
And of course, we should not forget that SŁUPSK is also a multinational, a multicultural city with a very long history, because it used to be a German city, it used to be a Polish city, but what is important is that this city attracts people of all different cultures.
Od 80 lat jest miastem polskim, ale pamiętającym o swojej bardzo złożonej historii i szanującym tę historię.
It became the Polish city again 80 years ago, but we still remember about our cultural heritage.
Ale miasto, które wie, jego mieszkańcy wiedzą, że musimy iść ku przodowi zawsze, bo droga jest jedna, do przodu.
And our residents, of course, still remember and still think that it's important that we look forward instead of looking on the past.
Dlatego z wielką radością wpisujemy się w każdą propozycję współpracy i współdziałania, w tym naszej aktywności w UBC.
That's why we are always open to any kind of collaboration, any kind of cooperation with countries in Europe and outside of Europe, and that's why we are part of the UBC.
I witając Was wszystkich bardzo serdecznie na ziemi słupskiej, 7 kilometrów od centrum tegoż regionu, czy w naszym mieście, w przepięknej i magicznej Dolinie Charlotty, życzę nam tego, żeby nasze spotkania były symbolem tejże właśnie bliskości budowania przyszłości.
And in welcoming you all to the region and you know, SŁUPSK is the capital city of this region. We want to again tell you that it's very important that we meet and that we talk about and work on collaboration.
Budujmy dobry świat, zawsze ze sobą blisko współpracując.
We should build the future together, and the future should be focused on cooperation. Thank you. So thank you, Ms. Danielewska-Wojewicka, for welcoming all participants of this conference. And our next speaker should be Ms. Henryka Mościcka-Dendys, the Under-Secretary of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Unfortunately, she was not able to attend this conference due to other commitments. But we have Mr. Jan Krzymowski on behalf of Ms. Henryka Mościcka-Dendys, and he's going to read the speech out on behalf of the Undersecretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished organizers, hosts, guests, participants of the conference. Unfortunately, our Deputy Minister could not attend this conference. However, I will have the honor to read a letter addressed to all of you, written by Minister Henryka Mościcka-Dendys. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to address you at the opening session of the 18th General Conference of the Union of the Baltic Cities, an annual event that has already become a significant element of the multi-vector cooperation between the Baltic Sea Basin. Although I cannot join you in person, I am really pleased to share with you some thoughts from the perspective of the Polish presidency of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. The value of multilateral Baltic cooperation lies in the multiple connections between various partners, be it governmental and non-governmental or local governments, fostering the creation of unique expert networks, enabling the exchange of information and good practices, as well as undertaking of joint coordinated actions. Poland holds the presidency of the CBSS from the 1st of July 2025 until the 30th of June 2026. During our tenure, we want to continue the practical cooperation focused and built on achievements of the previous presidencies, in line with the CBSS long-term priorities, which are safe and secure region, sustainable and prosperous region, as well as regional identity. We highly value the thorough cooperation within the organization, as well as in the framework of 4 CBSS working groups, task forces. The Council of the Baltic Sea States has effectively contributed to creating strong trans-regional bonds on various levels. We note with satisfaction that active participation in different formats often offered by the CBSS brought tangible results and valuable experiences for multiple stakeholders, not only from Poland, but also from other countries of the region. At the same time, contemporary threats stemming from the current geopolitical situation are often aimed at undermining mutual trust and understanding the values that are especially important in the regional cooperation. Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine and increased hybrid and disinformational activities targeted in particularly acute way the Baltic Sea region, prompting a significant re-evaluation of the EU and regional strategic priorities and goals. The evolving security landscape underscores the importance of building a long-term resilience through a comprehensive approach. For that reason, we see the need to strengthen the political pillar of the organization towards a more focused approach on regional security. Our goal is a better coordination in such areas as protection of critical infrastructure in the Baltic Sea region, countering the shadow fleet, as well as ensuring resilience to GNSS jamming and spoofing. Reshaping the regional cooperation and tailoring it to the current geopolitical situation is not only a challenge that we should face, but also an opportunity to move forward and emerge stronger, as underlined in the recommendations presented by the high-level vice persons in their report in May 2025. Consequently, at the last CBSS ministerial session in Vilhula in May 2025, all member states agreed that the effort should be made to strengthen dialogue and cooperation on security, complementing the work done in other relevant organizations while avoiding unnecessary duplication. Dear participants, Russia's unprecedented and unprovoked aggression against Ukraine has profound implications not only for our region, but for the whole of Europe. By the same token, the European support for Ukraine's reconstruction efforts is the best possible investment in our own security and regional stability. It is clear for all countries of the Baltic Sea region that a strong Ukraine with effective state structures and a vibrant economy can serve as the only realistic security guarantee against Russia. We need to convince Kremlin that we are ready to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. Long-term planning on financial assistance will be crucial. If successfully implemented, Ukraine's reconstruction could be a game changer across the post-Soviet space. It would not only create new trade and investment opportunities and foster greater regional integration and stability, but also significantly diminish Russia's influence and provide impetus for the future geopolitical competition with Kremlin. Poland stands as Europe's steadfast shield. We have provided over 25 billion euros in humanitarian, military, and refugee aid to Ukraine. But reconstruction is not charity. It is a strategy. It is smart business for Ukraine, Poland, and Europe. Over 3,000 companies are already rebuilding Ukraine, and Polish exports now makes up to 30% of all EU trade with Kiev. These are bonds of prosperity that strengthen both nations. Rebuilding Ukraine also means linking it firmly to Europe. That is why we are trying to engage Ukraine, which has an observer status in the CBSS, to as many joint activities as possible. Dear colleagues, let me also briefly refer to other topics of the agenda of the conference. As for the new EU budgetary period, I would like to note that although the Commission's proposal does not substantially change the content of the EU policies, it represents a major shift in terms of their implementation and budgetary structure. Poland considers the proposed budget a good basis for continuing the negotiations. We recognize that flexibility of the EU budget is necessary to respond to unforeseen challenges. At the same time, current proposal of the Commission goes far in this regard, and we believe it must not undermine the key purpose of the MFF, which is to ensure predictability for long-term investments. In the ongoing negotiation process, we will continue to prioritize cohesion policy, the common agricultural policy, and certainly defense. As regards the cohesion policy, we will defend the role of regions. The local and regional level must not be weakened, as it plays a key role in delivering the EU priorities on the ground. During the negotiations, we will also advocate for special solutions for regions bordering Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, which have faced exceptional challenges since the start of Russia's aggression, not only in terms of security, but also economic and social development. Regional cooperation is vital also with regards to the climate change. We must act beyond divisions, not only to prevent climate change, but also to adapt to constantly changing climate conditions. However, we must also take into account changing geopolitical realities. The climate goals and commitments agreed by the EU over the last 2 decades were made in a different economic and geopolitical context. Therefore, future climate actions should take these changing realities into account to a much greater extent. Consequently, we should be more flexible and willing to review certain solutions. Dear colleagues, let me express sincere gratitude to the organizers of the conference, the Secretariat of the Union of the Baltic Cities, as well as the authorities of the city of Słupsk. It is by no means a coincidence that you are meeting there. The Pomorskie Voivodeship has earned through years of a fair share in the regional and macro-regional framework of the Polish foreign policy. Just to mention that the annual forum of the EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region has taken place just last week in Sopot, in the same voivodeship. I wish you all a very fruitful discussion and enjoyable stay at the beautiful Dolina Charlotty. Henryka Mościcka, then this Undersecretary of State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your address. Of course, we are, as always, a bit pressed for time, so we need to speed up a little bit. So our next speaker, our next distinguished speaker is Ms. Magdalena Adamowicz, a member of the European Parliament. So please join me in welcoming Ms. Adamowicz.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with short remarks. So I was born not far from here, because in Słupsk, and well, Słupsk is my home city. The mayor of Słupsk, Ms. Krystyna Danilecka-Wojewódzka, was my Polish teacher in high school. So I really feel here like at home. And that's the reason that I would like to welcome you here, not as an official conference, because, I mean, this meeting looks more like a family meetings, because we all have the same one idea. We all share this idea, mainly a deep belief that Europe happens locally. It's in our cities when Europe truly comes to life, when a new tram line is open, when a student is studying abroad, when we launch a cross-border project that changes everyday lives. That's where EU policies stop being words on paper and starts bringing real impact. But for that to happen, cities must not only implement Europe's decision, but they must help to shape them. As a member of the European Parliament, we often discuss big numbers. Billions for this, millions for that. But what really matters is what those numbers mean for people. And that's where you work. The work of cities becomes essential. You are not just project partners. You are the link between Europe and its citizens, the one who turn Europe into action. Right now, we are entering the crucial moment, the discussion on the EU budget for 2026 and the next long-term financial framework, so 2028 to 2034. The Parliament has made it clear Europe cannot do more with less. So we must protect programs that works, like Erasmus, EU for Health, Horizon Europe, cohesion policy, and keep investing in innovation, jobs, and resilience. Because if we cut the budget, it's the cities and citizens who feel it first. You may have heard that the European Commission proposed merging cohesion and agricultural policies into one big fund. On paper, it sounds simpler, but in practice, well, you know it better than anyone, it's risk of centralizing decisions and pushing local voices aside. The Committee of Regions and many of us parliamentarians are worried about this. We want to make sure that every region, every city, no matter its size or location, keeps a fair say and fair access to EU funds. The EPP strongly believes that partnerships, not centralization, is what keeps Europe democratic and trusted. And this is where the Union of the Baltic cities make such a difference. Your projects prove how powerful cooperation can be. Cities learning from each other, tackling shared challenges, working across borders on energy, environment, and innovation. You are showing Europe what the true integration looks like. Practical, human, and full of solidarity. So my message today is simple. Stay engaged, stay vocal, keep pushing your place at the European table. Because when cities speak with one strong and united voice, Europe listens. Let's make sure that the next EU budget not only funds your projects, but also reflects your ideas, your experience, and your ambitions. Strong cities means a strong Europe, and together we can make that Europe fairer, greener, and closer to its people. Thank you, my friends, and I wish you inspiring discussions ahead. I would like to also thank the Union of the Baltic Cities and its Secretariat for promoting the Mayor Paweł Adamowicz Award. This is award for courage and excellence in promoting of freedom, solidarity, and equity. This year, call for nomination is already closed, and I know that the Union of the Baltic Cities was also very engaged, so thank you very much for this. We have 25 nominations, and we will know soon who would be the winner. Thank you.
So partnerships, not centralization, are key to keeping Europe together. So thank you for stressing the role of cities, regardless of their size and location, in shaping EU policies. So now we are going to listen to our next distinguished speaker, and now it's time for Mr. Marcin Skierawski, who is the Deputy Marshal of Pomorskie Voivodeship.
First, I must agree with Mrs. Mayor that Mantas Czesnauskis was a very good basketball player, and now he is an excellent coach. And I always regret that he played in SŁUPSK, not in Sopot, because I am from Sopot. I'm support. My favorite team is Tref Sopot. So. But nobody is perfect, so this maybe in the future, Mantas, it will be the coach in my city, in our team, Tref Sopot. We will see. Dear guests, dear Baltic Sea friends, I'm a little bit nervous and a little bit excited, so let me use my notes. It's a true pleasure to welcome all of you in Pomorskie region. Pomorskie has always been open to people and open to new ideas. For generation, my region has connected rather than divided. This is important information, but our region is home of many people who have shaped modern Poland and Europe, including the Donald Tusk, the current Prime Minister of Poland and former President of European Council, the former Presidents of Poland, Lech Wałęsa and Lech Kaczyński, and our former current President is from Pomorskie region. And from here is Janusz Lewandowski, former European Commissioner for the Budget. This shows how deeply Pomorskie is connected with Europe and its future. Today we meet to discuss how our region and cities can work together to face new challenges. This discussion is especially important now, as it takes place during the debate on the new EU cohesion policy for 2028-2044. It's crucial for the cities and it's crucial for the region to speak with one strong voice, to express our needs and defend our role in building a stronger Europe. In Poland, the Convention of Marshall of Republic of Poland has already adopted a position on the European Commission's proposal for the MFF, the next MFF. Among the most important points are maintaining the principle of decentralization in the implementation of cohesion policy. We need more funds to cohesion policy, of course, management by regions. It's difficult, but we must expressing concern about the growing role in the national governments at the expense of local authorities. And we must highlight the special roles on region along the EU's eastern border. We need clear rules for project implementation, and this is important, I think, all of us, because our budget is not big and we need improving advance payment levels. And last but not least, we want increasing technical assistance to at least 5%, now is 4%. Strengthening the role of the region, the cities, is essential for representing our interest in the European Union and for ensuring the sustainable development on our sea region. We all face common challenges such as climate change, housing, water pollution, migration, tourism pressure on the energy transition. Cities are in the heart of economy, education, transport. Your voice, our voice, must be heard when the EU policy are projected and designed. Why? Because EU projects are implemented in the city, in energy transition, in climate protection, the public transport, or waste management. The UBC can play the key role as a platform for coordination and cooperation. It can help cities prepare joint application for EU fund and strengthen their ability to run transnational projects. Joint project increase of challenge of success in programs such as Horizon Europe, the LIFE, and the Interreg. By strengthening the UBC role in EU project, we can make the Baltic Sea region even more integrated, innovative, and more competitive. We all see that the world around us is changing fast, predictability is turning into uncertainty, and global events affect our region more than ever before. In such times, cooperation is not only valuable, it's essential. It gives us stability, strength, and hope. For many years, the Union of Baltic Cities has been the strong voice of our cities and our regions. It connects the local government, institution, and citizens, helping us turn ideas into action. Thank you for this cooperation. Our region has been more united, innovative, and resilient. Here in Pomorskie, we deeply share that vision. We know that Baltic Sea does not separate us, Baltic Sea connects us. It connects our economies, universities, and people. True cooperation starts with the people. When we listen, when we share, when we trust each other. We also know that security in our region means more than defense. It means strong communities, strong cities, reliable infrastructure, good education, and mutual understanding. It means being ready to work together in times of crisis and support each of other when challenges arise. Today's meeting is a great opportunity to strengthen our partnership, to learn from each other and share our both good experience and sometimes difficult experience. Dear friends, together we can make the Baltic Sea a model of cooperation, peace, and sustainable development. Together we can make it a place where people feel safe, connected, and aspire. And finally, please remember, we must stand with Ukraine. We must support Ukraine for as long as they need it. Thank you.
So the Baltic Sea does not separate us, it connects us. So thank you for highlighting the role of the UBC in coordinating all our joint projects and goals and in serving as a platform for, you know, a knowledge exchange. Now it's time for our next distinguished speaker, who is Ms. Aleksandra Dulkiewicz, the mayor of Gdańsk and a member of the European Committee of the Regions.
Mr. President, Madam Member of the European Parliament, dear colleagues, mayors and friends, all those who create Union of the Baltic cities for such a long time. I'm here standing, as it was already said, in two roles, as a mayor of the city where Union of the Baltic City was created long time ago, 1991. Thanks to the cooperation with Kalmar and more than 30 cities. It was very briefly after falling of the communistic system, and we all thought that it will be different. It is different. It is also different thanks to the cooperation and thanks to getting to know each other and thanks to European Union. But also it is different, not thanks to us, but thanks to our neighbor in Russia. And this is still something very, very important. And in my opinion, this is something what we are also taking into agenda in the European Committee of the Regions when thinking about the now and the future, that we need to be aware of the situation we have right now. There is no discussion about the role and the future without money. This was already briefly addressed by my colleagues, especially from the European Parliament. We just know what the European Parliament did with the European budget a week ago, I guess, a week ago. This is extremely important that regions, cities, local communities will have their real influence and real part, not only because we need money, because we need support and cooperation. Coming back to such organizations as Union of the Baltic cities, we extremely need more cooperation within European Union, but also with our neighbors. I'm very, very happy and grateful to the UBC, to the board of UBC, to the president, but also to my deputy mayor, who is deputy president in UBC, for bringing as close as it is possible Ukrainian colleagues, not only to this union, but also for the cooperation. This is mutual issue. We need this cooperation. We need your experience, especially when we see what is going on, especially when we need to support our citizens in awareness about security, in being ready for this what is unknown and hopefully will not happen. Therefore, I'm really, really grateful for the close cooperation with Ukrainian cities, but I deeply believe that this is not the end, this is the beginning. I do hope that in Poland next year we will host, hopefully in our region, Ukrainian recovery conference so that we could talk more on those issues. What is extremely important, and this is how I see the role of local authorities and regional authorities, fighting with disinformation, supporting local democracy. This is something what every one of us in our cities, in our communities, this is something what we can do. It's not easy, but I deeply believe that this is not so that this war is already lost. It depends on us if we will help our citizens to be aware. This is number one, be aware. Then support democratic movements. And of course, education and promotion of the citizen work. This is something very, very important, and what I really think that also should be one of the issue for our Baltic cities, because our region is especially on the eye of Vladimir Putin. This is why this is extremely important. What I would like to say, both as a city of Gdansk, as a Pomeranian region, as MPs also from the European People's Party, but also as a European regions, we strongly support all movements and all efforts on supporting strength of regions in European Union. Therefore, we need to cooperate. Therefore, we need to share experiences, and therefore we need to shape European Union policy. It is happening here, during your meetings, during committee meetings, seeing what we can do better from each other. So I'm really, really grateful for this, that in Pomeranian region, here in SŁUPSK, in Dolina Charlotty, we can have this this meeting. I know that tomorrow there will be some voting, so new people probably will take a responsibility, or those who are already here. I don't know who are the candidates so far, but I think that this is extremely important, that we need to see that role of Union of the Baltic cities is even more important than it was in the beginning of the 90s. We need to stay together, we need to cooperate, because only together we can step by step change the world and take away this what we don't want to have in our regions. Have a great time, have a good conversations, and I do hope that together we'll really change the world. Thank you.
So thank you very much for your insightful remarks. So Ms. Dulkiewicz has expressed her gratitude to the UBC for supporting our Ukrainian partners, and has also highlighted the need to fight with disinformation and to fight for the values of democracy these days. So now I'm really happy to welcome our next distinguished speaker, who is Gustav Lindström. He is Director General of the Council of the Baltic Sea States. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Lindström.
Thank you. I want to thank also President Jurgutis for the kind invitation to the 18th General Conference here of the UBC, where we will be have been discussing EU policies and accessibility to EU-funded projects. Given the brevity of our introductions today, I just had two messages to you, and they're based on the concept of resilience, which I understand is one of the key elements in the strategy of the UBC going to 2030. And my first message is simply to say that, unfortunately, cities are at the forefront of providing resilience. So for that reason, over the coming years, especially in the Baltic Sea region, cities will not only have to deal with their traditional challenges, making sure that you provide the services, that you deal with demographic changes, but you will also have to face challenges when it comes to disruptions at airports because of drones, electricity shutdowns, online digital payment systems that do not function. Maybe you will have disruptions to the signals. So for that reason, you will have a dual challenge going forward. And I think it's very important then to reinforce the type of work that you do within the UBC. And my second and final message is simply to say that also, unfortunately, going forward, cities and regions will face probably even more challenges as we move to the so-called smart societies. So maybe many of you are working towards smart cities. You're dealing with smart transport where all your traffic lights will be coordinated. You are working towards smart health. smart grid with energy. And just as one indicator, there are currently about 20 billion things connected to the internet. And according to Statista, another 10 billion things will be added and connected to the internet by 2027. So as all these things are interconnected, in these smart cities, you will have even more challenges. So for that reason, again, it's very important the work of the UBC, also very important your contributions towards resilience, but unfortunately you will have to continue being very focused on this task for many, many years ahead. So wishing you all the best on this, but also very much encouraging the type of collaboration that you do now and how you exchange both lessons identified and good practices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for pointing out some of the main challenges that we are facing these days in Europe, including airport interruptions or the planning of smart cities. Now we also have two other distinguished speakers. Unfortunately, they are not here with us. They are not able to attend the conference, but they have sent us their video addresses. And these include Ms. Themis Christopoulou, who is the Director General of the DG Regio. And then we also have Andrzej Sobczak, who is the Secretary General of Eurocities. So let's listen to their video addresses.
Dear mayors, dear representatives of regions and cities, I very much welcome the focus of this important event. I firmly believe that cities must play a greater role in EU policymaking. There are many questions on the minds of our citizens and therefore on our own minds as policymakers to tackle. Will our cities be livable with a clean environment, quality public transport and services, with affordable housing? Will our democracies remain vibrant and secure in an increasingly hostile geopolitical environment? As Europeans are confronted with these and other questions, one thing becomes clear. Europe will only succeed if its cities succeed. Under cohesion policy, Europe's largest long-term investment policy, over 24 billion euros is set aside for investment in Europe's cities. Supporting 1,400 local development plans, putting local authorities in the driving seat, and investing an additional 400 million euros in urban innovation, in capacity building and knowledge sharing. 56 cities across Europe have already received such support. I encourage you to make the most of these opportunities. As you know, under the leadership of Executive Vice President Raffaele Fitto, we will present by the end of this year a new EU agenda for cities, with two main aims. First, streamlining support. Across the EU, many different EU funds and initiatives already support cities. This is a good thing. It shows how much importance we attach to cities and their role in Europe's future. But we also know that the support landscape has become crowded and complicated. Cities tell us it can be hard to find the right opportunities. That's why, responding to your request, the agenda should make the offer simpler, clearer, and more accessible for cities of every size. Our second aim is to bring cities closer into the process of EU policymaking. We want to give you a stronger voice in the preparation of key policy initiatives at the EU level. Looking ahead, the Commission has presented proposals for the post-2028 EU budget. Member States will be required to develop national and regional partnership plans for investments and reforms designed and implemented with regional and local authorities. In this new setup, support for cities should continue both through integrated territorial and urban development strategies as part of the Member States' plans. When it comes to support for capacity building, innovation and knowledge building, the Commission has introduced this possibility under the EU facility. The proposal is currently on the table of the Council and the Parliament for their examination. So things are moving fast. emerging challenges and emerging opportunities, from the EU's agenda for cities to future cohesion funding. None of this can work without you, the cities themselves. You're best placed to diagnose local needs. You're key partners, and we need to hear from you. I thank you, and I wish you a fruitful and inspiring discussion today.
Dear mayors, dear city leaders, I want to apologize for not being with you in person at the Union of Baltic Cities General Conference, but unfortunately I had other commitments already. I would have loved to be with you to share with you about the many important topics that we have in common between our two networks. First of all, at Eurocities, we are working on influencing the next MFF, the next EU budget. We are very worried about the first proposals of the European Commission that show that the European budgets could be more centralized at the national level. At Eurocities, we are fighting for mandatory urban chapters in the national and regional plans. And we are fighting also for urban earmarking to make sure that still budget goes to cities. And we hope that we can also convince the European institutions that there should be direct funding that goes from the European institutions to the cities without being filtered by national governments and regional governments, for example, on key issues like affordable housing. The second important topic for us right now at Eurocities, it's about the EU agenda for cities. We are quite happy about the first version that has been shown by the European Commission in Krakow, but we are quite worried that this first proposal could be watered down and that the role of cities actually would become less important than it was supposed to be. For us at Eurocities, it's very important to have a strategic dialogue between the EU institutions and city leaders to make sure that cities' priorities are taken into account in European policies in a strategic and systematic way. Finally, as I saw also on your agenda, you will discuss about the support from cities to Ukraine. This is also something that is very important for us at Eurocities. We are quite active in running the Sun for Ukraine project, where we are supporting 12 cities in Ukraine and help them to become climate neutral when they will work on the sustainable reconstructions of their cities once the Russian war is over. And we have also started internally to create a solidarity mechanism between our member cities in Ukraine and the other cities to allow them to attend our events, be it thematic forums or our annual conference. I think that we, as two important networks for cities, should strengthen our cooperation. I think we have a lot of things in common between the Union of Baltic Cities and Eurocities. I think we are at a very important moment for cities. We can, if we fight together, achieve more for cities, but we need to show that actually we are not defending different positions, but we are going in the same direction. I am personally available, together with our president, Matthias de Klerk, the mayor of Ghent, to have follow-up meetings to see how we can indeed make sure that we make the best efficient use of the resources that we have and that we can defend together our common points when we discuss with the European institutions. I'm looking forward to it and wish you a very interesting conference. Thanks a lot.
So to sum up, we've listened to 9 different speeches, each of them actually highlighting the role of the UBC in times of uncertainty, but also actually stressing the role of UBC member cities in shaping EU policies as well as in participating in EU-funded projects. And I think that the last speaker also actually talked about direct funding without the participation of any national intermediaries. So Actually, we were very optimistic at the beginning of this plenary opening session about our Q&A session. We are unfortunately running out of time, so we need to move on to the coffee break because we are just about to start our second plenary session. But of course, you are more than welcome to discuss all the issues mentioned in the speeches of our distinguished speakers during the coffee break. And if you have any questions, if you would like to, make any comments, then of course you are more than welcome to approach our distinguished speakers. So thank you very much for this opening session. And we also have some gifts for our distinguished speakers. So if you could just pass them over to our speakers. Just one technical issue. So the second plenary session is going to start at 3:45 p.m. 3:45 p.m., right?
So maybe we can start, yeah. So I think it's a good moment to start with the second session. And very welcome to our next topic and next panel that we have. I'm Igor, I'm coming from the UBC Brussels antenna. I'm going to be your moderator throughout this last session we have for today. We're a bit late, but we're going to try to finish on time, or maybe just a little bit too prolonged, but we're going to do our best to finish in the next hour, maybe hour 15. And we're going to try to make it a little bit more interactive, so prepared also some questions for you as the audience, and also keep in mind that we will have Q&A part at the end if you have some questions to ask. So once again, very welcome to the EU Funding and Advocacy, the role of cities in the Multi-Annual Financial Framework 2028-2034. We spoke in the previous session, some of the speakers tackled this aspect. I think it's also important to speak more about this, particularly having in mind that the European Union is preparing this multi-annual financial framework, which will determine strategic funding priorities across key areas such as climate action, innovation, digital transformation, mobility, social cohesion, all the aspects that we in UBC cherish very much, and all of our cities are doing their best to implement some of the key strategies we have there. With the public consultation for the new multi-annual framework, this panel aims to explore how cities really can play a more proactive role, and to see where we are now currently in all of these public consultations, and how we can influence and advocate not only for more funding, but I would say for a more important place at the table, as Manta said in his speech. So to try to make the things more interactive, as we said at the beginning, so let's maybe warm up a little bit and try with some brief Menti. So I can ask our technicians to put the screen on from my computer, if it's okay. And then just to see, to try it, how does it work? Okay, guys, can you put the screen on my computer? Okay. So let's do a bit Menti. Take your phones. And you can either scan the QR code that is lower left angle corner, or you can just go to your browser and type up menti.com and use the code that you see in the top of the screen, 56981519. Very simple question at the beginning, more to warm up our fingers. How is your mood today, especially after a long session that we had this morning and the previous one? Okay, happy to be in Poland. No one did yoga, obviously. No time for yoga this time. Okay, but it's good that we still don't have anyone that says, please leave me alone. So it's also important for that. Okay, and I think it's also important to see where we are coming from. Still okay, 30 people there. Okay. Happy to be in Poland. So where are you coming from? I know how it's important to have this diversity of all our member cities, associated cities, our partners as well. Okay, obviously Dansk. Okay, Latvia, Lithuania. Vexio. Yeah. Vexio. There is also a video clip, there is a YouTube clip how you pronounce Vexio. So you're people from Henrik, I don't see you, but people from Vexio, very smart. They made a clip how to pronounce the name of the city. Okay, Riga, Turku, Lithuania. Okay, Sweden, Latvia, Hamburg, Slopes, of course, Stockholm, and so on. So we have like a pretty big, pretty wide diversity. Speaking about where we are coming from, and finally, before I give a floor to the first speaker, to ask you some question that is really related to why we are here. So cities should be at the EU table when discussing designing the next EU budget. I think the result probably is going to be obvious, but let's see, what do you think? Yes, they must be strategic partners, or maybe, depending on the capacity they have. Or member states should lead, or you're not sure still. And to see to what extent the current proposal is centralized, or is also giving the opportunity for cities to take their opinions, to share their opinions. I know that one of the speakers is going to cover this aspect as well. So definitely, yes, we must be strategic partners. I think it's quite obvious what the city's representative will share, but I think it's also important to have this in mind. it's a good moment maybe to stop with this with this Mentimeter, and I am happy to give a floor to the first speaker for today. I'm inviting Marko Punovic, head of the UBC Brussels antenna, to give us the intro presentation, after which I'm going to invite all the speakers to take their places at the stage. Marko, please.
See, so we need, yeah. It should be coming soon, I think. So good afternoon, everyone. So as Igor already introduced me, I'm Marko already for 6 years, trying to be present in Brussels, observe a little bit what is happening there for UBC. We as it should be okay now. Maybe better now. Whenever I need to speak, there are some technical mistakes. So it's not the system, it's me. I know, always is this. It worked in the coffee break, but. So. There is a plan B, yes. But also Igor, he always says, no, if something doesn't work, it's you, it's your karma. So, yeah.
Better? I think so. Check now, check now.
Yes. So it just proved it's my karma, not a technical issue. So so what I want to go through this short presentation is how the new EU budget 28-34 looks like, at least this proposal, what are the opportunities for the cities, and how we can engage, as already some speakers mentioned. So for the people who are not maybe familiar with that, multi-annual financial framework is a spending plan, or called budget. It's not only the budget, but also sets the priorities. I think that's clear. Proposed budget is 1.76 trillion in 2025. Prices around 1.26 of the general budget of when you connect all the countries together. And the focus is competitiveness, resilience, cohesion, green and digital transition, and defense. So I think the budget has been commented in Brussels is a combination of expectations from the member states and institutions, but also some pressures that need to be addressed, like security, for example. Also, it covers 25 billion a year of debt repayments. Those are connected to a recovery fund that was used after Corona. So MFF aims to introduce more flexibility and faster responses, as already mentioned by some speakers in the first opening session. So as I said, when you deduct, you see the red thing. So when you deduct these repayments, it comes to 1.5 total budget of the EU member states. But also an interesting thing that this budget also has its own resources of 410 billion that European Commission introduced. So increased spending on defense, innovation, and green infrastructure with reduced shares for agriculture and cohesion. And I put also reference, we shared this presentation with you after, so you can look for in-depth clarifications in those links. So what is interesting, the proposal simplifies EU spending by reducing budget headings from 7 to 4. So we have partnership plans, which is a big thing in the new budget, a new mechanism. So it covers cohesion, common agricultural policy, social issues, and migration. Then you have competitiveness and security, so including Horizon, for example, project, Horizon program, industrial policy, and defense. You have external action, neighborhood, enlargement, and humanitarian aid. I will stop a little bit with one slide later on because we have issue of Ukraine here, very much 13 members in the UBC, and of course administration, EU institutions. So the key innovation is the introduction of national and regional partnership plans, integrating 14 existing programs. So I'll refer to this later on because this might concern the cities. So what are the, just a couple of important things, not referring to everything. I think what is interesting, we have Horizon Europe, up to 74%, so 155 billion for research and innovation. I think it's a positive news, especially cities, especially the piloting partners take part in these projects. Defense and security 4 times, so 116 billions. Obviously, a lot of discussions last years about this and necessity to increase security, energy and transition, up 125% to 72 billion. So as I said, cohesion, which is not good, and common agricultural policy have a real term cuts to 10 to 15%. And finally, 25% of allocations under this new regional partnerships are reserved for a crisis situation. So looking at this, we can say there are a lot of new things in the budget, and there is a kind of reform. And some commentators in Brussels would say it's the biggest reform since 1988, and since we had the law reform. So just briefly, Horizon Europe and Competitiveness Fund, 155 billion, supports research and innovation. So you have also European Competitiveness Fund, 207 billion across 7 windows. So this competitiveness is also what President of European Commission pushed a lot. I think there will be a lot of funds for competitiveness, also including like programs for development of skills and so on. I think it's very important for the regional policies, education and cities as well. So we have clean transition and decarbonization, digital leadership, health, biotech and bioeconomy, defense and space. Yes, so I think here one of the things, maybe I can jump over there, but I will refer to that. It's important to include cities in those programs, especially in innovation hubs and implementation as implementation partners, and aligning the local priorities to be part of these programs. Then we look at, I just took two, three important things for us. Ukraine enlargement and external action, 200 billion, quite a big package over here. But what is also very important, almost around 100 million for Ukraine. Yeah, so I'll just say 100 billion for Ukraine for 28-34 for recovery, EU integration and reconstruction. We have, during this year, did as antenna this task force for Ukraine, also the workshop yesterday, a capacity building on democratization, modernization of local municipalities. There are a lot of topics where UBC cities already playing and cooperating with Ukrainian cities, but here there will be funds from 2028. I mean, there is also a Ukrainian facility right now, but I think this is a quite good opportunity. Of course, I assume, I'm not sure, I didn't follow that in-depth file, maybe some other speakers will say, of course, reconstruction will be a big part of it, but I'm sure other topics as well. There is something that maybe we should pay attention. So there is a rule of law and local access. So the rule of law conditionality regulation could suspend funding if national governments breach EU standards. So there is a risk here that maybe cities could lose some funding. So UBC also called for the direct funding as some other partners. So there is some, I put this Igor question as well, if other speakers could comment as well. So here we come to the national and the regional partnership plans as a new thing. So each member state will adopt one national and regional partnership plan addressing cohesion, agriculture, climate and energy, migration, social inclusion, innovation and skills. So the funds to this reform will be really connected to the performance, to meeting milestones and targets, And here, I think the cities, and especially in this period until the adoption of the MFF next year, late next year, should play a role to ensure there is urban aspect here. There is some guarantee that a percent of those must go to urban. So, in general, there is a risk of centralization, as Andrei from Eurocities mentioned before. So there is no mandatory urban chapters in those plans. Conditionality rules for the breaching EU standards could also influence the funding for the cities, and lack of earmarked envelopes for urban priorities. So several organizations here in Brussels lobby to have at least 15% of earmarked for urban areas and structure multi-level governance to ensure local impact, also something to discuss. So we follow what is happening on this, and during this, tomorrow we'll adopt the position paper. So those are 5 simple standing points coming from UBC: direct access to EU funds for municipalities bypassing national level where possible, where not possible, adjusting urban perspective, permanent EU city dialogue through the urban agenda, dedicated support for Ukrainian cities on recovery and accession. I think that's quite covered here. A recognition of Baltic Sea region as a driver of innovation and security. And finally, simplified access and technical support for small and medium-sized cities, and many of our member cities are falling into this category. So what are some advocacy positions for the cities if you end up somewhere? So definitely what I spoke before is introduction of mandatory urban chapters in those plans. Funding for cohesion, climate, housing, and social inclusion to be guaranteed. Ensure direct access in rule of law cases in case there is a problem in some of the countries, so the cities could go around it. Strengthen city roles in competitiveness funds and horizon, as mentioned, and promote urban-led pilots on their decarbonization, circular economy, and inclusion. So what are the next steps? Just this is the last slide. So as you know, the Commission proposed the budget in July. The second package with some legal framework and legislative proposals on September 3rd already this year, and we have currently Parliament and EU Council negotiations. They're in progress. So these negotiations between the Parliament, Commission, and the Council called trialogues will happen in the first part of the next year, so meaning 2026, and the final MFF agreement by late 2026, implementation, of course, in 2028. So what you can do, influence European Parliament. We had some members of European Parliament here today, especially Budget and Regi Committee of the European Parliament. Mobilize national governments in Council negotiations so they can support some of these points. Push Commission, DG Regio and Budget for urban clauses in this plan. Shape implementation guidelines and use Committee of Regions and EU Urban Forum 2026. So yeah, as some speakers said before, cities are heart of the Europe, and we try to push to empower cities directly where possible in the new budget. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco, so much for this presentation that you shared with us. So I know that next, before I invite speakers to join me here on the stage, not to stay so much alone here, one more mentee question for you. Speaking about, so again, my screen, please. Just is going to be a very brief one. Speaking about the regions, because we're going to speak also from the perspective of European regions. When you think about the Baltic Sea region, what comes first on your mind? What would you say? Can be anything that pop up on your mind. So again, okay, Baltic Sea, what's up? Okay, nature, opportunities, always a good word. Okay, definitely the sea, okay, the Baltic Sea. Vikings, nice. France, UBC, nature again, economic benefits, unity, transnational cooperation, and many different stuff that probably need to be put in the framework, because out of these, many of these aspects probably wouldn't be tackled in a way that it used to be like that. So when many of these things remind us on the Baltic Sea region, and I think it's also important when we speak about the regions, when we speak about this regional perspective, also to have in mind what really is a drive for all of us to doing this. It's my pleasure to invite the speakers to the stage. So I would ask, first of all, Kieran McCarthy, Councillor, City of Cork, and member of the European Committee of Regions; Claire Rume, Strategic Partnership and Coordination from the Energy Cities; Laura Omuchinska, External Funds Project Inspector for City of SŁUPSK; Linda Ozola, member of the Riga City Council; and Henrik Johansson, Environmental and Project Financial Coordinator, Municipality of Växjö. Thank you so much, and a big applause for all the speakers. Thanks. So, Kieran, I'm going to start from your side. As I said, you have like a dual role of someone who is also councillor in the City of Cork, but also member of the European Committee of Regions. How do you see the influence of the cities, speaking about shaping the priorities of the next multi-annual financial framework, and what kind of advocacy tools you would suggest to have a more stronger role? So please.
Thanks, Igor, and thanks so much to UBC for the invitation. You'll hear my accent is an Irish one, so I have a soft Irish accent. Irish people also speak very, very quickly, so I'll try not to speak too quickly. There's a lot that Marco and Igor, you kind of unpacked in terms of the presentation on cities. I mean, I'm a city councillor in Cork in the south of Ireland for the last 16 years, and a former mayor of my city, and the last 11 years have been following the urban file in the European Committee of the Region. So I've seen, we'd say, the rise and fall of EU urban policy a little bit, and I can see the kind of the rocky journey it's actually been on. But I have to say, like reflecting back on 10 years ago where we were at in terms of EU urban policy, I think all of us involved in cities, and I say that perhaps there's something like 70% of all settlements are large cities or small, medium-sized cities in Europe. There's been a massive momentum. Like if you look at all the development plans of the different city municipalities, they're all trying to modernize in their own way. They're all trying to catch up. They're all trying to retrofit in terms of transport or housing or climate action or energy. There's this massive move to like, we need to do this. And I think that's coupled with citizen expectation as well. Like the cities' populations right across Europe are growing. And so that catch-up has also kind of evolved narratives in the storyboards of cities. I've seen in my own city of Cork, if I showed you what my city development plan was 10 years ago and what it is now, it's completely different, nearly priorities. In fact, we've built in kind of learning cities and healthy cities on top of climate action programs and so on. And so it's very, very important to mention that momentum. And so what the MFF proposes is maybe to slow down that momentum a little bit, which is not good because all of us have to kind of keep going. And so there's the general momentum of cities, and also we'd say some of the programs that are there at this particular moment in time that some of the cities here probably enjoy in their own way. So, for example, if I mentioned URBACT, I have no doubt that some cities here have been involved in that, and that's a really great EU project to bring people together for ideas. There's not an enormous amount of funding involved with it. You might have to go to something like Interreg, interregional cooperation, maybe to get a little bit more money and get more ideas kind of going. There's European Urban Initiative, which has come out of a lot of work on EU urban policy the last 3, 4, 5 years in particular, where you can actually get money for peer-to-peer learning. And that's a really, really kind of great program. There's also EU Horizon missions. So there's 5 missions. I know my own city of Cork, we're doing the climate neutrality by 2030. Now, to be climate neutral by 2030 is an impossible ask for many, many cities. But there's 112 cities in the European Union that have signed up for that. And I was just looking at the map earlier on, there's something like 20 cities in the Baltic region directly that actually have signed up for it. And that's massive ambition to do that. And there's also, there's a soil mission, there's an ocean mission, there's a climate adaptation mission. And so there's also that kind of momentum within those particular European projects. There's a Just Transition Fund. Like there's 96 regions out of, we'd say, 244 regions, not 2 regions, that are doing the Just Transition Fund. And so there's the regions are using the fund, and they are using these kind of runways of funds and ideas and kind of knowledge sharing and funding and so on. There's also intelligent cities projects. I know my city did an EU intelligent cities, and we managed to develop a digital cities project, and we managed to get a digital cities officer in place. I think our previous speaker mentioned kind of the smart cities and all of that. And then you have this kind of cohesion policy that 8% of the European Regional Development Fund is earmarked for urban projects. Now, URBAC and EUI is a little bit a part of that European Urban Initiative. And we've just heard there from Marku that there's a proposal that we want to go to 15%. We're at 8% at the moment. That's earmarked. But whether or which, there are many cities that are benefiting from the current MFF. And kind of benefiting from the momentum on the ground as well. And what's been proposed is to slow down the momentum on the ground and also slow down the momentum of what we've been doing on EU urban policy the last kind of 10 years in the different projects. Now, I have other points to make, but I know you're looking at me and you want to move on.
I want to ask you another question because I'm going to now to move you from your Cork shoes to the Brussels shoes, to the shoes of Committee of Regions. So. Maybe, of course, you cannot share official standings, but as a member of a Committee of the Regions, what you think the Committee of Regions should do related to this particular issue?
We're really unhappy, and we've come up with statements that we're really unhappy. We've met Commissioner Fito. We're trying to meet Commissioner Serafin, who's the EU Commissioner, I suppose, connected to Poland, to go, look, we're not happy with these national and regional plans. Because what will happen is that I think there will be kind of political problems in particular, that if you have a city and your mayor or your council doesn't get on with your national government, what could happen is that we're not going to give you the funding. We're not going to give you the co-financing needed for projects. And so it's taking away the power from, at this moment in time, there are really great partnership programs. We said there's 244 regions. There's maybe 200 managing authorities. And they all have programs with, I think DG Regio, the Region Development, the Director General of the European Commission has been mentioned. They all have partnership programs, and they're all ongoing. And now the plan is to undermine all of those and give the power to central governments. And my experience of kind of dealing with central governments is that sometimes they don't know what's happening on the ground. They might have party people.
It's hard to reach them sometimes. Hard to reach them.
Yeah, at regional level. No, mind what's happening in a city. Like my own city is 220,000 people, and I've no doubt that there are smaller municipalities, even that. Like there are municipalities out there that are 5,000 people and less that have mayors and councillors and so on. For us, it's a real worry. We're like the European Committee of the Regions is an opinion-based body within the European Union. It's a formal EU institution, and we're at the moment we have rapporteurs that are doing opinions. There is a cohesion alliance. I think Eurocities was mentioned kind of earlier on, and I know there's a number of agencies under Eurocities. But we're really unhappy because for the Committee of the Regions for 30 years, we've been saying that please work with the local and regional authorities on the ground. And the partnership and the relationship was building. And I've seen it the last kind of 10 years. And now someone has come in and went, no, we're actually changing the partnership. We're changing the working relationship with you. We're going to break up with you. And we're going to give it to somebody else. Yep. And I think that's just really kind of disappointing. And there's an onus on all of us to write to our commissioners, to write to our MEPs. And it's great to hear probably in the last week, like we heard from MEP Adamovich from the EPP party. I know the PES, the Socialist Party in the European Parliament is moving on that as well. But we need to push the MEPs in particular. But not just the MEPs, the central governments. The central governments at the end of the day will come together. Yeah. And actually probably will happen under Ireland's EU presidency at the end of next year. So it'll happen probably in Dublin.
In this term, yeah.
Yeah, and we just need to fight for the ground and fight for what's happening on the ground. There's a lot there to.
There is a lot to be done. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, thank you, Kieran, for this first round. Yeah. And briefly to move on, but before I give a floor to Claire, like just briefly to one more question for the audience, like to keep you like awakened. Yeah. So can you just put my screen back? So it's going to be practically, do EU climate and energy funds reach your city? So any project, anything you would mention. So yes, not enough, or no. So 3 options, yeah. So we have like some answers so far. My speakers cannot see because the screen is behind their back, but we can see here like mostly yes, not enough, and no, like still 13 people just responded. But generally we see that climate and energy funding is mostly reaching the cities, people present here, which practically comes to the really my pleasure to give a floor to Claire and to speak more about how can the needs of the cities better support the local energy, climate transitions, and Kieran also spoke about climate neutrality. So how do you see, from the perspective of your network, which also UBC is a part of, how do you see the current trend speaking about this topic here?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much also for the invitation, because I think it's super interesting to be here and to be on the ground to really discuss directly with you and have a clear understanding of your projects so that indeed we can do a better advocacy at EU level. Just to basically go in the continuity, I think it's important to understand why we are with this kind of proposal that the Commission has put on the table. That is really clearly a renationalization of EU policy. So it's really something that I must say that I think no one was expecting, but it's a trend. It's a general trend on many, many other policies. So what has happened first is that because of the COVID, the European Commission had to be extremely flexible, and the flexibility is a key word of the speech of the Undersecretary Minister, yeah, that in the first panel. Then they come up with this recovery fund, and the recovery fund was very big, huge national envelopes. Basically, it's like a complete free bar. It's open bar. You just spend, so that indeed we don't get into an economic crisis. So that was the idea behind. And then the Commission said, well, actually, this is very easy, because in that case, we just don't have any responsibility as Commission. We just discuss with one interlocutor. So it's basically one person, one team at the European Commission level, which is directly under Ursula von der Leyen president. So it's under the Secretary General of the European Commission, discussing with one team in each of the capital. And that one team is placed in the Ministry of Budget. It's not a team that is, indeed, normally the entire budget was discussed with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Transport. That was the way the European budget was discussed before. And now it's really they want one command, one line of command. And I think this is the idea behind, is that having to discuss with regions, with many cities, is difficult. Yes, it is, because actually it's many conversations, but this is where it makes it very efficient, because then you really answer the needs. So they prefer something that is very simplistic and that will not work, because actually the recovery fund did not work. It worked only not to fall into an economic crisis, but it didn't work in making meaningful investment in most of the cases. What I want to insist on is also on the fact that, I completely agree with you, we were really on the hype with the urban affairs. I mean, the cities were so high on the agenda that actually I think we have been annoying many people. And the Commission also has this analysis that everywhere there is a very high level of Eurosceptic vote is in rural areas. And they did understood, in their opinion, that they have forgotten about rural areas. And I think as cities, we might have been not wise enough to really speak much more about territorial development than about urban development, even if it's the same, because actually everywhere the European EU is very urban. But we need to be stronger in showing that and that's why it's so important also for you, because I think you're very specific cities with very strong links with your rural areas. And I think we need to be stronger in that message, saying that we need to have a strong link with urban.
Thank you, Claire, so much. So sometimes open bar is not a good option, as you say. Could be. Okay, we are moving to Laura, and speaking of City of Słupsk, and but in general, I mean, any practical steps you would like to share for some mid-sized cities here, how we should prepare better for this new European budget. Still is not clear how it's going to be, but having in mind these first scratches, any piece of advice related to this?
Firstly, it's a pleasure to be here with you. The steps to take, mainly general, cities has not a lot to talk when it comes to European budget and how the framework works. So cities are at the image. We get the framework and we need to plan depending on the framework we get from the national or regional authority. So maybe strengthening the dialogue with the local authorities and national authorities with the cities could help.
Linda. Before I give the floor to Linda, just again some questions for you. So I'm gonna need also my screen again, and then it's not gonna be. So the first one is more related. Should smaller and medium-sized cities receive more tailored EU funding opportunities? So, yeah, Kieran mentioned some small cities, like, okay, the Cork is like 200,000 inhabitants, but like we have some municipalities of a couple of thousand. And many people living there. I think also what Claire said about this Euroscepticism in the rural areas is maybe it was a trigger for the Commission to change some perspective. I think it's a very interesting angle of perception. So yes, they need better access, but maybe it depends on the local capacity. So, most of you here present in the room thought that it depends on the capacities. And it's something that we in the UBC cherish very much in trying to boost the capacities of our member cities and associated cities. We had a session yesterday about how to further support Ukrainian associated cities, and one of the conclusions from that session was we need to improve the capacities as in the coming months, coming years, as a part of the reconstruction, as a part of the investment that's been announced from the Commission. It's definitely that we're going to need more capacities. Speaking about tailor-made support, it's definitely the audience also share this. One more question before I give the floor to Linda. So has your city shared or scaled an EU-funded good practice with other cities? So are we sharing a good practices among our cities here in the UBC, but in general as well? Yep. We are mostly sharing cities, so yep. So Laura, you're sharing also your good examples, yeah, as you said,
We do not yet, but we had very successful project with Vajkho. They say it right. We took the project from Interreg Central Baltic about mobility, and we bought ourselves a few cargo bikes for our citizens.
Oh, that's really great. And we're coming to Linda, who is a councillor in the city of Riga as elected official. So we're speaking about here now, we have after slopes, we have Riga, we have also Vaxio. We're going to speak about, but first of all, from the perspective of someone who is elected official, how do you see what the political leadership, because Laura also spoke about the leadership, the authorities and so on. What's the role of political leadership when you speak about the cities and their more important role in all of this?
Oh, it's huge, of course, because they're the decision makers after all. But in the beginning, I wanted to also kind of make a bridge to what else has happened also earlier today. And I started my day by joining the workshop on resilience. Resilience is very close to my heart. I'm very happy that we have this partner from Nordic Urban Resilience Institute, making us think about risks, emerging risks on local levels and how we'll respond to that. And what we talked about in the morning was about fluid strategies. And you spoke about flexibility, and the previous panel spoke about flexibility. And if we think about fluid strategies to respond for any kind of risk, then at the end of the day, it is the cities who are so close to people who can do it most efficiently. And that is basically the reason why we have to lobby for this presence of mandatory urban shares in allocating EU funding. Because we have to define why so that we can sell it. As cities, sell it not only to the national governments, but also to the public in general. And if you ask what politicians or elected officials can do in the municipalities, I think that we cannot, at the end of the day, we cannot absolutely go around our national governments. Because otherwise we will have split societies in the public administrations. We have split societies all around the world, in Europe and the Baltic Sea region already on so many issues. And it is making our economies develop in a slower pace. So that's not what we want. And we should not be split between local governments and the national governments even more. So we will have to find a way how to talk and how to listen to each other. But then tactically, of course, I'm thinking, so how to make my government, for example, to listen? Because of course there is a competition between the capital city I represent and the national government. Yes, who is stronger, who has bigger muscles? It is there, also for political reasons. But then one of the tactics, of course, is to get public on our side. So we have to communicate with our people and to sell why city role should be stronger, why through our involvement, our people will feel the results of resilient, safer, richer, whatever, more inclusive environment where people live. And of course, I mean, the policy paper that also Mantas has mentioned and several of you, Marco mentioned earlier, that we will adopt and vote on tomorrow. The city of Riga is fully supporting all the points mentioned there with this mandatory urban share. So let's lobby, let's get societies on our sides as well, because I'm very much sure that it is also a way how we can increase people's trust in public administration. In my country, and believe we are not the only ones, we are in a huge crisis of public trust in well, let's not speak about politicians, but also trust in institutions. So if we can deliver better, then the public trust would increase. But I just wanted to reflect a little bit on the Recovery and Resilience Fund, which the colleagues talked about as an open bar, which not necessarily at all points were a successful one. But we had a successful experience with that. And I consulted also with my experts in the city, RRF financing, which was had to be implemented in a limited period of time. And of course, the government was not able to absorb all the money, of course. So they had to call for the support and cooperation of the municipalities. And this is one of pretty rare cases where the government and the capital city had to sit at one table and discuss and coordinate the policies. We defined in Riga certain amount in investments that we will put into specific municipal strategy, public infrastructure, road infrastructure at the heart. And so it was very, very dedicated, targeted, and also in the city of Riga, some of this investment came from Riga, some of it came from the national government complementing each other and really getting a better result. We had huge fights. We had some legendary meetings that we still remember where blood was shed during those discussions. But at the end of the day, so it is a good example with coordinated action. Of course, I believe that there are many cases where not everything was so efficient, but we have some good cases as well. They don't come easily. They come through fight, but then through the dialogue, we can get something good at the end of the day.
Thank you, Linda, so much. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a two-way street, I would say. Like, first of all, and on the other hand, all of this, especially for the elected officials, all of the power of citizens is something that you should use. And after all, they're your voters on the next local elections. And it's important, like, to open this two-way street for identifying their needs and trying to transfer these needs into some palpable solutions. So thank you very much for your this intro speech. I'm passing floor to Henrik. Now we heard Linda, who is elected official, but now it's from the perspective of public servant who is dealing with environment, with the climate change, and to see how do you perceive this issue of making, not issue, but all of these challenges the previous speaker mentioned related to the new European multi-annual financial framework. So particularly from the lenses of environment and climate changes that you are dealing with.
So, oh God, yeah. Wow, okay, thank you for having me here. So, the ones who want to learn how to pronounce Växjö, find me during dinner.
YouTube is not good enough.
So, yeah, I would want to say that EU funding has meant a lot for us in our city during the last 25 years or so. We have been receiving funds for various different kinds of projects through various programs. It has helped us to make to develop things bigger, better, faster, and more innovative. And that is one of the core aspects of what EU funding is supposed to do, I would say. But it also helps us to work together with other countries, with other cities, learn from each other, learn each other's cultures and knowledge, and spread experiences to each other. Many of our projects that we've been working with and successfully carried out, and not always successfully, sometimes you have the mistakes and learn from that as well, are related to energy efficiency, sustainable transport modes, nature-based solutions, but also digitalization and effective actions to reduce the socio-economic gaps in the society. We can see that European Union and the accessibility to funds means a lot for us, for our citizens, and for our environment. But we as cities mean also a lot for the European Union, and that is very important because if it wouldn't be for the cities and the regions and all local authorities, EU will never achieve its goals. We are linked together. And therefore, it's very important that cities can be part of all those discussions in matters that are actually affecting us when it comes to the next MFF, for instance. But also not only how to develop that, it's also important that the funding schemes are becoming more easy to administer, because it can sometimes be something that scares you as a city if it would be too difficult to apply for various funding systems. And but don't despair about that. There is always someone to help you. I mean, the exchange between different cities, sharing knowledge is there. And also, I would encourage all cities to take use of various city networks like UBC, like Energy Cities, like eClay, because they have lots of knowledge in finding cooperative partners as well. So finally, I would like to say as well that once again, it's important that cities are part of this, because EU cannot achieve its goals without the cities.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Henrik. Yeah, definitely. It's in many strategies, in many action plans, like cities have been mentioned. There's the core part for implementing different activities and so on. So definitely without the cities, it wouldn't be possible to do many stuff. So it's again beneficial for both the Commission and also for the cities as well. Claire, you want to add on something? Yeah. And before Claire is taking the floor, we have like maybe 10 minutes. If you some questions for the audience, 10-15 minutes. So if there is some questions, please have in mind. So our colleague is gonna give you the mics, and then just be brief in your questions in order to have then one more round of all speakers, maybe for a final conclusion. So that's the idea. So Claire, please.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to come back because I think, Linda, you really touched upon the super important point of the fact that it's when there is an obligation to have a dialogue between the city and the national states that it actually works. But we need to have that obligation of dialogue. This is really what we wanted with the Committee of the Region also, to have that. It's the national approach, as we call it in the EU fund, might not be a bad thing if it's a RRF, because it's actually more flexible, it's more directly linked to priorities of different priorities, but it has to go with an obligation to have the dialogue, an obligation, a real one. I mean, otherwise then we will be completely sidelined, because it's not only one centralization that we see in the proposal. There is a centralization because they want to have national funds. But there is also another centralization because every project that goes, for example, on energy, there will be plenty of money, really a lot of money. You put it. There is more money than ever on energy, but it will be only for very, very big projects, not for decentralization, which makes us much more resilient. It will be very big project, very, very vulnerable, because big projects are vulnerable. I mean, you are in the Baltic Sea, you know about the Nord Stream.
And we saw, sorry for interrupting you, we saw here in this small survey that we did to the people present here, how much our capacities are important.
Exactly. And that's the last point, is indeed the centralization also goes with the fact that actually if you don't have the local capacity, it's really telling local capacity is needed, and otherwise you just don't have any democracy.
Thank you, Claire. Any questions from the audience? Please just raise your hand and someone's gonna give you the mic. I can see, actually, I can see some, I think it's Mika, I don't see, so, okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Roland Enquist. I work as an EU policy advisor at Region Gotland. I think it's very important here to remember that there are many territorial aspects to take into consideration. So I would like to go back to what Claire Romay mentioned about how are we going to advocate the specific needs of cities, while also taking into consideration those of islands, outermost regions and so on.
Thank you for this. Anyone else? Please. Okay, there is no more questions. Checking once again. First time, second time, sold out. I would give maybe the floor for the final comments from your side, but you also can refer on this question as well, but we're going to start with Kieran.
No, just on that particular question, like the new MFF, there is a section on islands and outlier areas, but what there's not a section on is the urban. But that doesn't mean like the outlier areas are going to be looked after within the new proposal for cohesion policy, but at least it's mentioned and it's there. I suppose we've been condemning several parts of the MFF, but there are other parts of the MFF, I suppose, that are being proposed that are okay, and that they will serve their own function for different parts of the European Union. But it's just, I think what's galling me and what's really annoying me is just all the work done by everyone involved in urban policy, and it's just, there's no earmarking for it. It just doesn't exist. And I mean, the head DG, Themis, who spoke there at the end, she mentioned that there was a meeting in Krakow, and this EU agenda for cities was discussed, but it was very brief. It wasn't, here's the exact points of things we want to nail down. Because the debate to date, we'd say on urban, even going forward in the new MFF, is like, yeah, we're going to do something on energy and transport, and we're going to do something on housing. But what exactly are you going to do? Because we've been discussing those for centuries in some of our cities. And I know that sounds very sarcastic, but it's just, it's annoying and it's actually upsetting for those of us who've been working in this area for so many years. We thought we were winning, and then it's like there's a divorce coming up, and we're actually going to go to another particular partner. And that's kind of what it actually feels like. For the Committee of the Regions that's been there for 30 years, it just undermines the whole aspect of subsidiarity, multi-level governance, all these EU buzzwords that we use and that we use regularly, but actually now they're being completely undermined, and they're going to, like one by one, seem to be kind of disappearing. Just in terms of a final remark, I'd just like to, there was individuals that are saying that the small and medium-sized cities, that they have capacity issues and so on. One of the elements that we're trying to do in Ireland, especially for the really small municipalities, 10,000 people or less, is perhaps get a European funding / affairs officer to represent, we'd say, a particular region, maybe bringing together maybe 5 or 6 municipalities, and that they'd employ a European affairs officer. I mean, we're not up to 2028, 29 yet. We're now mid-term in the current MFF, and there's still money left on the table. But the thing is that how do we actually get the cities that they can't seem to get access to it, and give them access? And one way is actually to find someone who can decode the jargon and the language. And that's something that anytime I'm at a conference like this, I'm conscious of the audience that some of the words that we're using probably, unless you're part of this world and part of the storyboard, sometimes it actually doesn't make sense. The Just Transition Fund and subsidiarity, and it's really, really important that the small and medium municipalities find a decoder of the language, a translator, and then actually bid for the funding, because there is funding there, and I think many of us are leaving funding on the table, and it's just going back into a larger pot or disappearing into central government.
So we need a dictionary then.
We need a dictionary. We need. What I'd love to see are European affairs officers in as many of the. I think there's 95,000 local and regional authorities in the European Union.
Probably more sheep there than citizens.
If we get 50% of those have European affairs officers, and then there'll be more. Even I completely take the points of more discussion on the ground, more engagement with the citizens. You go to the citizens on the ground and you kind of ask them what has the EU done for you. Many of them might say, yeah, the roads. Key infrastructure, but after that they might get lost around energy and mobility, and so it's important that we tell the citizens what's going on as well. We need decoders and we need translators. That's kind of my final point that I want to make.
Thanks, Kieran. Passing floor to Claire. Like you mentioned a couple of things, but maybe just asking from a perspective of Youth Network, where we should push, in which direction we should push, like to try to ensure what we are really striving for.
Well, exactly as you just said, and to answer the question is what we need to push is to go back into having a real territorial approach to it. It's not one territory needs more or less. Every territory needs to become resilient and to ensure living condition. I mean, we are not sure to have living condition in the future, with whether it is war or any other. So it's like we know where we want to go, and then the flexibility needs to be on. You have to decide on the path, but where to go is what the Covenant of Mayors have been saying for years now. It's you want to reach climate neutrality, resiliency, and this is what you need, and affordable energy for all. This is where you need to arrive. Then you have to choose your path, and every territory should have access to EU funds, and we have to go back into this territorial approach of it's a big backlash to not having this territorial approach.
Thank you, Claire. Final thoughts from your side, Laura?
Since many cities have struggled with basic needs like education and roads, cleaning streets, some strategic investments might be a bit too hard to handle by the cities, especially small and average cities like SŁUPSK. So I'm not so skeptical to centralize all this funding, because as we can see now in the Pomerania voivodeship, there is a regional program in this framework, and every big investment that happens from these funds is happening around big cities, not in SŁUPSK.
Thank you, Laura. Linda, you mentioned many things about how we should take citizens on our side and how they should be practically our voice in having this stronger role on the table when we speak about new EU budget. So any final thoughts from your side related? What should be done? What should be done in order to ensure this?
I think we should learn to listen to each other. But every Latvian presenting anything, anywhere in the world this year comes to one quote, and that is, we're all in the same boat, with reference to the cartoon called Flow, that the Latvian cartoon that won Oscar earlier this year. So we're very proud of that. But really, if there's anybody in the room who hasn't seen it yet, it is Marco. Shay. But I'll give you all the information. It is without any language, so everybody will understand it, very universal. But we are in the same boat in this very volatile and complex times, uncertain times. And it is about learning to listen to each other. In my country, we have cases where cities, or let's say big cities, and small and medium cities or rural areas, the competition is that high that local communities wouldn't get the same access for NGO projects supported by EU money. So, which is not fair. Sometimes it's not the regional or rural areas that are underfinanced. In some cases, people in densely populated areas get less access. So the competition can go both ways. So it is learning to listen to each other and understanding that, well, all regions, as Claire said, have to be resilient. And the same concerns about this dialogue between the cities, municipalities, and the government. I also was very caught on what DG Regio said, because she mentioned that the aim is that cities are involved not only in implementing but also designing, and I really call this designing all the programs, which is about this mandatory side, and hopefully, I do hope that it will come to reality.
Thank you. Henrik, as a final speaker here, is this only the role of elected officials, or the public servants also need to think about all of this?
I think that this is the role of everyone working for a city, no matter if you're elected or if you're just not elected. So everyone is affected of this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And this is practically the last slide. Thank you to my speakers. It was a privilege having you here on the stage. Can you just bring my screen back? So I just ask you about your satisfaction. So the first one is very satisfied, and we have also satisfied people. Also, there is also someone who is maybe not super satisfied. It's also fine with this. But I would like to conclude this, as someone of you said, without cities, there is not much success in many of the strategic documents and priorities of the EU. I remember once, I think in the first term of the President von der Leyen, she said that she wants a greener Europe, smarter Europe, more competitive Europe, and so on. I think without cities it's not possible. So definitely, I mean, these big words that big politicians and important politicians are saying is practically not possible without the cities. And I think I would say there is still space for the improvement of this first proposal, and it's good that we discuss this very important topic. Many thanks once again to my speakers here and to all of you that were present here, and we are finishing exactly at 5 o'clock. Thank you so much. With a big applause for the speakers here. And with this, we are concluding the program for today, the official program for today. So the next thing is official dinner, which Anna, it starts at 7:30. Yeah, it's going to start at 7:30 here in this hotel. So enjoy some free time and see you soon. Thank you. Sorry. There is some artistic surprise, so please stay on your seats. Okay, turn on this way, you will see some artistic surprise.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to present our local group. So, you've just watched a mini show given by our local Argentinian tango group. They are non-professionals, and they've been training for the last few years and inspiring a lot of different people in SŁUPSK of all ages. So they meet every Thursday, if I'm correct, in one of the restaurants in SŁUPSK, and they are really passionate about the dance.
Some presents for our speakers.